Oh my God. Believe it or not, we are here. We have hit the season finale of Euphoria. I know. It's crazy. I can't believe it either. This is season 2, episode 8. All my life, my heart has yearned for a thing I cannot name. And as always, I am joined here by my co-host, the guy that always has some insight on the show. Very happy to have him here, whether it's just him talking about how much he loves the show or just him being weird, whatever it may be. It's very great to have him here. Here he is, Henry Ewing.
Oh, hi, March.
Yes, that is true.
We're going to talk about all the movies coming out.
Oh, wait, that's tomorrow.
Oh, that's tomorrow? Oh, shit.
Yeah. I don't know if he's coming back. That might be one of the best intros I've ever had for anyone. That was so good. But no, in all seriousness, we are here talking about the season finale of Euphoria season 2, which, yeah, I mean, it being March really threw me for a loop as well. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of the time when people are like, oh, the year is going by so fast, I'm like, it's going by at a steady pace. But today it's like, no, like the year is really speeding up already.
Yeah, it's because February is so short.
No, yeah. I think that's definitely what it is. February just like flies by because of it. But we're not here to talk about how quickly the months ran by. We're ready to talk about how fast this season flew by. So I will be honest, going into this finale, I was very excited with the way things left off last week on this really interesting cliffhanger. I was very excited to see how this finale was going to play out, and I have a lot of thoughts on this finale, I'll be honest with you, but I want to hear your take on this finale, Henry. What did you think of it overall? Do you think it was a satisfying end to the season? What do you think?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Like, there's definitely a lot of like unanswered questions, and like I feel like it's probably like a setup for like a time jump in season 3 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely like some really good moments.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to sum it up for me. This was a finale of moments. There are some really great moments throughout this entire finale, but I will be honest, as a cohesive whole, I think this is probably my least favorite episode of Euphoria. Now, that being said, I do still like this episode because of those moments, but in my opinion, it was kind of a mess, and it was kind of hard to... There were a lot of things that I wish they would have done a little bit more with, but I'll get more into it as we get there. I want to talk about the stuff that I really loved in this finale. Because there's a lot going on, obviously. So I want to get to the stuff that I thought was handled the best, and then we'll get to the stuff that I didn't quite like as much. Let's talk about our boy Fesco, Henry, because my God, this was quite the episode for him. We all knew that something bad was going to happen. Like the second that Faye went to Mouse, and Mouse was saying that, oh, I'm not Mouse, but went to Custer and said, I'm going to corroborate the evidence, against Mouse, and, everyone's going to know what ended up happening. Like, we knew there was no way this was going to go well. And I don't think any of us were prepared for what quite happened. Because, I mean, right from the beginning, we get this sense that something is off. We can see that everyone's acting very strangely. Fesco's ready to head out to Lexi's play, and immediately everyone's just kind of stopping him. And he's like, what's going on? And that's when Custer reveals to him what's really going on. And Fesco is obviously freaking out. But what I love about Angus Cloud's performance throughout this entire episode is that he is trying to remain as calm as possible. He's trying to not react that much. He's trying to just, stay cool and collected because he wants to get out of this as easily as possible. And he especially wants his brother to get out of this as quickly as possible. And I think this was easily one of his strongest episodes yet in terms of acting.
Yeah, for sure. Like, was definitely like some shit going on there, and wanted very emotional.
Yeah, for sure. For me, like, this was the stuff that felt the most like a season finale overall. And I mean, from this very second that Ashtray does, grab that knife, we knew that he was going to probably do something really bad. And what does he do right when Custer is basically trying to tell them, like, we got to find a way out of this. We got to try to talk to the cops. Fesco just wants him to leave. He doesn't really want anything to do with him right now. Ashtray pulls out a knife, stabs him in the neck, and my God, I mean, and look, I've seen a lot of people debate on Twitter saying that this didn't make sense, that Ashtray wouldn't do this, that Ashtray thinks more through things. But I think it's very important to remember Ashtray is a kid. Like, Ashtray is someone who was thrown into this mainly because of Fesco and his grandma. And, Fesco himself was thrown into this life because of his grandma. And the entire, Fesco's entire thing has always been, I want to try to make, Ashtray's life easier than my life was. But the problem is Ashtray has become so obedient and protective of Fesco that he really doesn't think through a lot of what he's doing. We definitely should have seen this coming, Henry, because I mean, yes, obviously he let Cal go, but if Cal hadn't said what he was going to say and didn't, handle things in the way that he did, I think that Cal probably would have gotten killed by Ashtray, just based on the way Ashtray reacted here. This did not seem out of character at all to me. It felt like this was something that we've been building up to pretty much all season.
Yeah, legit, in the first episode, he killed Mouse and injures Custer, so
yeah,
it was definitely shocking to see, but I wouldn't say it was out of character.
Not at all. I thought it was very much on point with with the way that with the way that they've been handling his character overall. So we get that moment, and it's a really crazy way to start things off. But we knew pretty much from that point on, this was just not going to end well at all. But even after he ends up stabbing Custer, Fesco's entire goal is, I'm going to take the fall for this. I'm going to make sure that Ashtray is not held accountable. And he is he slaps Ashtray at one point, says, we got to make you look as innocent as possible. And again, just Angus Cloud in the scene was incredible. You can see that he is trying his damnedest to try to get Ashtray out of this, to try to make Ashtray's, to try to make this easier for Ashtray. But Ashtray just won't budge. That he's going to do something. And what he ends up doing is far more insane than I think we were expecting. He takes this, shot. He takes the shotgun and he goes into the bathroom, closes the door. The police start raiding the house, and I think we had I had a feeling that the cops were right outside the door. But the second that they started raiding the house, you knew this was not going to turn out well. But again, you think about if Ashtray had not killed Custer, it probably would not have gone the way that it did. The cops probably would have just, there still probably would have been some shooting, but it would not have been to the extent that it was here, because immediately Ashtray starts shooting. There's a whole shootout that ends up going down, bullets flying everywhere. And we see Fesco, who is usually so soft-spoken, so calm. He finally reacts in this scene, and this was just heartbreaking to watch. Think about someone like Fesco, who usually keeps his cool. Seeing him actually lose his shit here was very hard to watch overall.
The emotional shit.
Yeah, definitely. And eventually we get to a point where it seems like Ashtray has stopped. One of the cops comes in, sees that he's down. And what does Ashtray do? He shoots that cop right on sight. And that gets a bunch of the other cops to come in and intervene. And you see the light flicker on Ashtray's head, and he just goes down just like that. And look, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, we didn't see the body. Well, here's the thing. You're not legally, you can't kill children on screen. So that's why we didn't see a body. Ashtray's very much dead here. There's no way he would survive this. He literally got shot in the head, and Fesco, I'm assuming, is probably going to go to jail after this. But yeah, I mean, everything about this was so crazy to watch. I feel like this is really going to change Fesco as a character fundamentally as we know him. Like, this is going to be the thing that changes him forever. And I don't really know how he's going to be acting within the rest of the show. I think this act alone is going to change him fundamentally. And I think we're only seeing the beginning of that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see like what they do in the future with him, because like I heard like they said he was supposed to die originally.
Yeah, I did hear that too.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad he didn't. I think it makes more sense for Ashtray to die in retrospect.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think there's more you can do with Fesco than you could have done for like Ashtray. Like, I think if Fesco had died, I don't really know what they would have done with Ashtray as a character. So I'm glad that they went the other way. So yeah, and the only other thing to take note of here is that there's a moment early on in the episode where it seems like Faye's going to maybe get them out of this and like blame Lori for Mouse's death, but nobody seems to really go along with it. And you kind of just think like, Faye, why didn't you just do this to begin with? Like, why didn't you say to Custer, let's just frame Lori, let's not get, Fesco and Ashtray involved? It was just really interesting moment for me. What did you think of that particular that particular motivation that Faye did?
Yeah, I don't know like what it's gonna do. Like,
yeah,
I don't know like if there's like any evidence that she killed anyone, but like I'm guessing like that they heard that and like they could probably like arrest her for like some drug shit. So
yeah, because it's important to note Lori was nowhere to be found in this episode. A lot of people thought she was going to show up, but I definitely think they're saving her for season 3.
Yeah, like if not her, then like definitely like some other people that like she works for.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're definitely setting something up there, but I think Faye moving forward is probably going to play a much larger role on this show because now she is she's always been directly involved with this, but especially now she's very much involved with this and, having Custer dead and things like that. And also her herself being a criminal, there's a lot of baggage that she's going to have to clean up. And I don't really know where they're going to take Faye as a character, if she is going to be more of an ally for Fesco and try to bail him out of jail and try to blame Lori for what happened, or if she's eventually just going to fess up to the fact that, yeah, it was Ashtray and you just move on. I don't really know what they're going to do with her, but I do get the suspicion that especially with how much we've seen Chloe Cherry and like the behind in the inside Euphoria thing at the end of every episode, like I get the sense she's probably going to play a much larger role moving forward.
Yeah, like it's definitely like a lot she could do. Like, yeah, like is she gonna go to jail too, or was that one thing earlier?
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how that's all going to play out. It's going to be interesting to see. I do like Fesco's probably going to be in jail for the duration of the next season, and that's going to be an interesting direction as well. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be really devastating to watch for sure, but virtually everything that went on in this plot, I thought was, very much made sense for where they were going with Fesco's character. It was a very tragic moment for sure, but I don't think in any way this was like an out of character moment. And I don't understand why people are trying to say that like Ashtray's a kid. He made a dumb decision. Like he was impulsive, that makes sense. Like, I don't really know why anyone is questioning it.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's everything really to talk about when it comes to Fesco. I do want to segue into the other part of this episode that really worked for me, which is everything with Lexi. This very much, even more so than I expected, was a continuation of last week's episode. We still got a lot going on with the play. And like, it was still really great to see. One can argue that maybe they could have just had a supersized episode last week and just had the entire play done in that episode. And this episode could have focused more on like the aftermath of that. But I still really liked what they ended up doing. I love the opening montage with like Fez and Lexi and seeing them bond a bit more, whether it be, you know, him not knowing what Little House on the Prairie was, and or her not knowing what Little House on the Prairie was, and them kind of like bonding over that, him talking about like social media and all this stuff. It was just, I've loved every single scene between these two. I hope we're able to see more, you know, whether it's her going to a jail cell to like call him, you know, to like talk to him over the phone. I see a lot more interactions between these two because I think it's been one of the best parts of the entire season.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's a lot they can do there, and
Yeah.
I think the fans love it, so they should do more with it.
For sure. I think that's been such an unexpected sort of pairing, but every scene they've worked so well together. I really hope they're able to do more with them. But getting into Lexi here, of course, we're going to talk about everything that goes down with Cassie and Maddie and things like that. But, you know, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the main thing with Lexi is that Cassie does end up humiliating her on stage. We'll get to the extent of what she ends up saying and whatnot, but this really upsets Lexi. You know, she feels like her entire play is a joke, and I really liked the way that they went about this, where like Lexi talks about like this is the only thing that she's done and it's a complete disaster. And you know, you have her friend talking to her saying like, you know, it could be worse. It could be boring. And, you know, Rue basically leads this chance to get Lexi back on stage. And it's a really great moment seeing Lexi, you know, finish out this play. We get to see a couple more sort of, we get to see a couple more look into the eulogy that Rue gave. We got to see a bit more of Lexi and Cassie and Rue and Kat, all of them together, and like how they were going to be friends. Like, and I think what we're really getting at here, Henry, is that Lexi's intentions for putting on this play was not to humiliate everyone. It was to remind them of who they used to be and what they really can still be. I think Rue especially understood that. I don't think anyone else really did, but I think that was very much Lexi's intentions here.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Like, I thought like the whole theater stuff was great. Like,
oh yeah,
continuing from last episode. And
yes.
Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe Lexi will be like an accomplished playwright.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's the direction to take her character. And like, I think that if they focus more on like her becoming this playwright and kind of go like this, I feel like this play is going to do something for her in like an upcoming season. Like maybe she gets like, you know, offers and things like that. Like, I think that's the direction to take this character in. And I'm very much down for that if it is. But of course, the thing we have to talk about is the impact that this has on Rue, because at this point, Rue is pretty much in full recovery mode, and it's great to see. Like, that's one of the things I really loved about this episode, is that a lot of these characters are at their lowest point, but Rue's already been at her lowest point this season. This is now about her sort of like building herself up to become better. And of course, I have to talk about probably the most controversial scene of this episode is the scene with Elliot. Yeah, this scene was very interesting to me. She talks to Elliot, starts off as her basically forgiving him for everything that he's done. And I love the way that she said, like, I have a lot of like, you know, I have a lot of I'm sorry's. I don't have a lot of I forgive yous, so that I forgive yous are easier for me. And he goes on to sing this song, and I'm not gonna lie, first time I heard this song, it was pretty cool, but the second time I literally skipped through it because it very much felt like a momentum killer to me. It's like, we don't know what else to do with Elliot. We're just going to have him play this song. It goes on for like 3 minutes, very reminiscent of like Just You from Twin Peaks, although that song is like a million times better than this one. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this scene. I like that he says, like, you know, can we still be friends? But to be honest, like, really thinking about it, I don't really feel like Elliot contributed to much this season. He very much just kind of felt like a plot device. He was there to complicate things between, like, Rue and Jules. And he kind of ends the season like unscathed. And I just wanted, I don't know, I wanted more from his character. We never really got a lot of insight into him. We don't know a lot about him. I kind of unsatisfied with Ellie as a character, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I feel like that's just like setting up more like setup of like season 3.
Yeah.
Like I thought the song was cool, but like they definitely could have like shortened it a bit, or
Yeah, they didn't have to do the whole song.
maybe like have like the song playing over like other scenes.
That would have been good. That would have been good. Like they could have had some like reconciliation between characters while the song plays. Like that probably would have been the right way to go about it. But it really just felt like you know, let's try to keep this as like how long can you last by listening to this song? Like it very much felt like that. Like it just kept going. And there was a point where I thought it was gonna stop and it kept going for me. And I just was not.
It felt like kind of an excuse to just have Dominic Fike sing.
That too, and like he's a good singer. I'm definitely gonna listen to that song outside of this episode. But I just don't really feel like it was all that necessary, to be honest with you. Like especially the part where he's like, "I'm still working on." Like, what the fuck are you still working on? That felt pretty complete to me. So yeah, I just was not a big fan of that scene very much at all. I was thinking that maybe he'd talk to Rue about what happened between him and Jules, but I suppose that she's going to find that out later down the line, or is she? I'm not really sure considering the way this episode ends. But easily my favorite scene with Rue in this episode is when she does talk to Lexi and basically compliments her on the play, talks about how much she really needed this. And it seems like this is going to be the thing. What? What'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, it seems like this is going to be the thing to like really bring these two back together as friends. And I'm very much here for it. I talked about last week how like I feel like part of Rue's recovery is recognizing like how good her friendship with Lexi really was, how much these two like support each other, how much they can depend on each other. And it seems like they are already getting there. They bond over like their fathers, they bond over other recent things. It seems like they're kind of moving forward as friends. It was a little weird that this turned out to be the final scene of Lexi's play, but regardless, I'm going to try to not let that, you know, take away from just how much I really enjoyed this scene. And I hope moving forward, we're going to see Rue really value her friendship with Lexi a lot more, because I think we especially saw last week that this was like a very healthy friendship for her. And I hope we see them reconnect more in the next season.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's definitely like a lot they can do there.
Yes.
And yeah,
Yeah, I think overall that was really great to see. I really like the way all of that ended up playing out. Hello, by the way, Joshua. It's great to see you. But the way we end things so Lexi pretty much, you know, this play does turn out successful for her. Everyone's, you know, applauding and cheering. It's a really great moment. It's like she finally gets the sense to live out her dreams. She finally gets the sense to do something that everyone's going to remember her for. It's a really great moment for Lexi, but the way things end with Rue, I thought was also very interesting here, where basically we end on this note where Rue talks to Jules, who is not a lot of people.
Jules talks to Rue.
Well, yeah, Jules talks to Rue, basically trying to get back together with her, saying, I still love you, saying that, like, I want to move past this. And Rue, instead of like giving her the cold shoulder, you know, pretty much like kisses her on the forehead, walks away. And this very much felt like this sort of like exchange between the two, where Rue's kind of like, I respect you. I do love you, but I love you enough to where I feel like the best way for us to move forward is to be apart. We can't be together right now. It's a toxic relationship. Neither of us are in the places to date. And I thought this was a really great moment for Rue, because I think she's always known that like this is not a great relationship. This is not something that she needs to pursue. And I'm glad that Rue, at least right now, seems like she is recognizing that like if she really does want to move forward, she needs to get Jules away from her for a bit, and that Jules is only going to showcase her most toxic tendencies. So I thought this was a really great moment overall. I know some people were complaining that Jules only had like one line, but I thought it was enough. I thought it made up for. I thought definitely it made sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it was good to see that they're on better terms, at least.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably going to be a bit more of them in the future. Like,
oh, yeah.
Not sure if they'll get back together, but there's definitely stuff there.
Yeah, I think definitely they're going to do a lot more when it comes to those two. But I don't think I don't see them being in a relationship, to be honest with you. I see them being more just like friends and maybe talking every so often. But I think we're mainly going to focus more on their individual journeys. And I'm happy about that because, yeah, Jules did not have a lot to do this season as a character. She was very much just Rue's girlfriend who was, going through a lot of shit, and she decided, she was having a very hard, time being gaslit. She started to have feelings for Elliot. Did not really do a lot with her aside from like her conversation with Nate and like destroying the disc. I hope they do more with her in season 3 because Hunter Schafer is so good in this role. And I don't really have a problem with her like not having a ton to do this season because I can recognize the fact that like this season is not really about her. This season was more about Rue's individual struggles. I'm hoping that season 3 we can focus a bit more on Jules because I do love that character a lot, and I don't like a lot of the backlash that character has gotten. I think a lot of it has been very unwarranted, and I'm hoping season 3 can turn some people back around.
Yeah, like because like the whole show is like from Rue's point of view, so
Yeah.
she's not the most reliable narrator, so
right. I mean, she literally skipped through a scene with Jules in like episode 6. So like, yeah, I think definitely the more Rue starts to become clean, the more we're going to see her become a little bit more like not as detailed with some of her narrative. I think we're going to start to see that here. And what I really liked about this ending, though, with Rue is that you kind of hinted at it. It does kind of hint at a time jump because Rue talks about at the end how like for the rest of the year I was clean. And it seems like Rue's going to stick to that. I hope that we don't see Rue backslide. I feel like we're going to see her probably go through something like at least one more time. But I feel like the rest of her arc in this show is going to be trying to recover, trying to repair those relationships with her mom, with Gia, with Ali, with maybe Fesco even. I think we're going to see her do that. And I think it's going to be a really great way to hopefully get us closer to the end of the show.
Yeah, like I think that because like it is still like 2019 in this show, so
yeah,
like,
that's true.
Still is gonna do some stuff with like the pandemic and all that.
Yep.
So interesting to see how that affects all these characters.
Yeah, especially because like I'm pretty sure they had to rework a lot of things because of COVID this season. So I'm interested to see like when they're able to, when they don't have as many restrictions, when they don't have to wait all this time to like film the season, what ideas they have for season 3. We're not going to get season 3 for a while. It's coming out in 2024, which is understandable. A lot of these actors' careers are blowing up and they have all these offers, don't really have time to shoot the show. But I'm interested in seeing what they really do with her specifically in season 3. But we're not done talking about the rest of season 2 yet. There's a couple more things that went down here. I want to talk about Maddie and Cassie, because I'll be honest with you, Henry, this is the stuff I wanted a lot more from. I felt honestly pretty underwhelmed when it came to what they did, because we get this great scene with Cassie right in the beginning where she is humiliating Lexi on stage, talking about how upset she is over the fact that Lexi even is doing this play and, insulting her and making fun of her life and things like that. She goes on this whole rampage where she starts insulting pretty much everyone, calling everyone rejects. There's a point where she has, she compares what Lexi is doing to like beheading people in like Afghanistan, and which is, she's called racist for that. There's a part where she ends up Lexi continues the play with the actress that's playing Cassie, and Cassie starts beating her up. I mean, it was just complete, total fucking anarchy, as we expected when it came to Cassie. I did not expect her to react quite the way that she did, but my God, Sydney Sweeney just really brought it here. And this to me did feel like an Emmy clip. Like, this very much did feel like one. I think they could very well use this with her just going on stage and insulting Lexi and talking about how upset she is at the play and things like that. I really have no issues with this scene whatsoever. And Susie not intervening, I thought made sense. Like, a lot of people have said, why didn't Susie try to intervene? Susie's not a good mother. We know this. Like, this is not shocking. Susie's not the greatest mother at all. And like when Cassie is doing what she's doing on the stage, her entire focus is, let's just focus on the play. She even compliments Ethan at one point for like portraying her and tries to like take the spotlight away. A lot of great moments in this scene, but of course it does drive Maddie to her breaking point. It starts with the two of them just like exchanging insults, talking about who's worse of a person than the other. And it gets to a point where Maddie just can't take it anymore. She throws Cassie against a wall, ends up like her nose is bleeding. She's got like a bloody eye and things like that. This was a really good scene, I think. I really like the way all of this played out.
Yeah, like, it's like interesting to see like Cassie's like upstaging again. And
yeah.
then like Maddie just has to do what she has to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was crazy the way all of this did end up playing out overall. But what really bothered me about this, Henry, is that aside from this and one other scene, we don't really get to see a lot with these two. We cut from this and we don't come back from the Cassie and Maddie of it all until they are talking in the bathroom. And it seems like they've completely it's a complete 180 from Maddie just like wailing on Cassie, just wanting nothing to do with her, to seemingly after they've fought, Maddie kind of like just being like, yeah, if you continue this, it's only going to get worse. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. This is only the beginning. I wanted a lot more here. I wanted to see more of a conversation between these two. I wanted that conversation to go on a lot longer. I wanted to see more of seeing how hurt Maddie really was, because I think they did a really good job of showing that last week, that Maddie's not just upset that Cassie cheated, it's who she cheated with, that Cassie ended up sleeping with someone. It's who she ended up sleeping with, and it's what she's really getting herself involved in. She doesn't want Cassie to have to go through what she's gone through. I just wish they would have showcased that a bit more here, because I think overall it just felt like there was something missing. Like, I feel like there was a conversation that was needed here that we just didn't get, and that overall kind of frustrated me.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the stuff they cut out for that song,
Exactly. Like, We could have had a really good scene between these two of them just like talking things out. Maddie maybe mentions like some of the things we saw last week with like when she stayed at Cassie's house and how great their friendship was. Like this could have been a really impactful scene. And literally all we get is Cassie talking about how Nate broke up with her and Maddie having like no sympathy because she did it to herself and telling her that like this is only the beginning. And still trying to warn her. So like I like that the show still portrays that like Maddie still at the end of the day is trying to be the best possible friend to Cassie that she can, but she's also like at her wit's end with her. I just wanted a lot more from these two. And I think that was something that was unfortunately cut short from this finale. I'm sure we'll get more in season 3. I just wanted a little bit more here.
Yeah, like these two are like not friends anymore.
Oh no.
I don't think they will be like for a long time.
No, so. And I mean, Cassie literally said in this episode that like she's okay being the villain, like that's who she is, and I feel like we're gonna see her do some really crazy shit in the next season for sure. Like I don't see her just like recovering from this so easily. Like I don't see her moving on. I feel like Cassie as a character is someone who represses her emotions so much that like when she lets them out, she's basically like she was in this episode. And I feel like she's just going to be absolutely batshit in season 3.
Oh yeah.
Which I mean, I'm all here for that because the more we get of Sydney Sweeney just like showing off her amazing acting abilities, the better. Like very much, she has been a huge MVP this entire season, and it's been great what we've gotten with Cassie. I just wanted a little bit more from this particular scene, so that did honestly not satisfy me as much as I really wanted to. The only other thing I want to talk about, because I want to hear your take on this, Henry. So we get a scene with Nate in this episode. This felt so random to me because we go from episode 6 of Nate basically talking about how he's ashamed what Cal has done. He had his own sort of like intentions with the disc, but at least from what Rue told us, which again, obviously she's an unreliable narrator, so she could have been wrong. Nate didn't want to do anything with the disc because he wanted to uphold the reputation of Cal's business because he eventually wants to go into that business someday. And to go from that to then suddenly hear him literally exposing Cal, tipping off the FBI as to what Cal did and Cal getting arrested, just didn't feel satisfying to me. It felt like a very random scene. Like it was a good scene, and like Jacob Elordi and Eric Dane did a great job. But it just felt really random to me overall, and I just wasn't particularly satisfied by it.
Yeah, like I mean, it's something with those two. But like for what? Like
yeah. It's another thing where it's like you gave us this song. You could have given us a little bit more setup to this particular, this particular moment, because nothing in the last 2 episodes felt like it was building up to this. Like I like what we get here where Nate finds Cal. He's basically just okay. He's hanging out with a bunch of people and it seems like everything's going great. And Nate pretty much, why are you watching my video? Nate pretty much, we get this scene where he talks about how he's had this recurring nightmare ever since he's seen, the Cal's disc and what he's done to a bunch of men. He always pictured that Cal was doing the same thing to him. So yeah, the whole like Cal sexually abused him. I never really thought that's where the show was going. It's not where it's going. It's just that's how Nate has responded to this. Nate has always pictured himself in this situation, just knowing the types of things that Cal was doing. And him turning Cal, again, it's a good moment. It just didn't feel all that satisfying to me because I don't think they built up to it quite well.
Yeah, for sure. Like, because could have used a bit more of that.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, that's really everything we get in this episode. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff here that just didn't quite satisfy me in the way that it needed to. And honestly, Sam Levinson's directing in this episode, I don't think was quite as strong as some of the other ones. Yes, obviously, in terms of tension, it was still very much there. But this episode very much felt like there was a lot of things that he wanted to do in this season, and he didn't get to do all of them. And so it was kind of cut short. And I just felt overall, direction-wise, this episode was kind of lacking for me. It needed to have a bit more momentum to it. The Fesco stuff absolutely does. I would say, hell, even the Lexi stuff does. But everything else, it just felt like we needed more. Like at this point in season 1, I felt very satisfied. I was very excited to see what was going to end up happening in season 2. And this time around with the season finale, I just don't feel quite as satisfied, especially not knowing we're going to see the show knowing we're not going to see the show until like 2024. I just need a bit more in terms of direction here. And I don't think his direction was all that consistent in this episode. And I do think there is something to be said. I've heard a lot of people say this, that maybe in season 3, he should not be directing every single episode. I think, season 1, he didn't direct every episode. Augustine Frizzle directed the pilot. Jennifer Morrison did episode 5. Pippa Bianco did episode 6. So he was not in charge of every single episode, in season 1. And while I get why he decided to take the reins for this season, I do think it was a bit of a detriment. I think he needs a few more people to help him out in maybe constructing this show, giving us better perspectives, being able to do more with some of these characters, because it felt like there was a lot he wanted to do and he just simply did not have time for it. And I think the directing just could have been a bit stronger here.
Yeah, definitely. They could do with more directors and writers.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially this season, what happened to Kat, especially if he had a different writer, I don't think that would have played out quite the way that it did. Which getting to the writing here again, I don't think the writing was bad or anything in this episode. There's just a lot of things I wanted more of. I wanted more of a confrontation between Maddie and Cassie. I wanted more build up to Nate making the decision to turn in Cal. What really led him to do that? It didn't really work for me. I wanted a lot more from Rue and Elliot. I wanted that conversation to go on a lot longer. I wanted to see a little bit more of where we're heading with them. I think in terms of, like I said, with Fesco, that made sense to me. That definitely worked out really well. And I think Lexi's play worked really well, but I just don't think the writing was all that great here, because a lot of it just felt like, it just kind of felt like there was a lot of stuff that was kind of cut short. And I think, something that I've definitely felt like is that this season, I do think needed more than 8 episodes. I think if they had 9 or 10, I think that I would feel a bit more satisfied, because there's been a lot going on this season. And I think that they kind of needed those extra 2 episodes to really flesh out some of these stories. And it just felt a bit too shortchanged for my liking.
Yeah. I remember there was a rumor that there was going to be 11 episodes.
Yeah. I think I heard that too.
Yeah.
And I think that I think honestly that makes a lot of sense, because I feel like a lot of what we got this season probably would have been a lot more satisfying if we had those extra 2 or 3 episodes. And the fact that we didn't, there's just a lot of stuff where I'm just kind of what was the point of this? Why did we go in this direction? There's just a lot of things this season where I'm just kind of questioning, why did we decide to go here? Why did we decide to do this? It just didn't quite work in the way that it needed to. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff I still really enjoyed about this season. I think when it comes to Rue, especially, and her whole recovery arc was very strong overall. I thought they did a lot of great stuff there. I love what they ended up doing with, I mostly loved what they did with Cassie and Maddie. I think it was a really interesting sort of conflict to put to turn those two against each other, fleshing out Maddie a lot more, making her feel a bit more 3-dimensional here. I thought they did a really good job with that in this season. I really liked a lot of what they did, even with Cal and his whole sort of arc that he's going through. There's a lot of things I enjoyed about this season, and especially the expansion of Lexi's character. I like that a lot as well. I just needed a little bit more, and I think that's what really does bring this season down just a little bit for me. The performances all still rock solid, a lot of stuff to really love here. Cinematography wise, I mean, this episode alone just had some really amazing shots. Just the shootout scene alone, Henry, was insane. The way that whole thing was shot was incredible. I saw a lot of people going on Twitter and being like, what is this show? And that's like one of those scenes where, like, out of context, you're just not going to get the same impact from. Like, I feel like you have to understand why that scene makes so much sense in the context of the show, why that is such an emotional scene. I don't think you're going to get the same impact out of context. So, you know, I've seen a lot of people be like, what is the point of this? But I think watching the show, like, I think that's probably one of the most intense scenes the show has done yet. But even like think of, you know, Lexi's play, what they did there, a lot of great stuff going on cinematography wise. Always been a huge standout this entire season. They very much upped the budget in this show, and it very much did come through, I think.
Yeah, good shit.
Oh, yeah. And I do want to talk about the score a little bit. You know, aside from Dominic, Fike, song, again, I loved all of the, which, again, a good song, just a big momentum killer in the context of the show. Once again, every song that played during Lexi's play was another, like, score from, like, a French movie. And I thought that was really cool, the way they did that throughout this entire thing. It was a very interesting sort of choice, but I thought it worked really well. It got me to Shazam a lot of the music. Like, I kept doing that. I kept pulling my phone out and being like, what is this song? I really like it. And yeah, literally all of it is like from like French movies. And I think that's like really cool. So I enjoyed the score a lot here. I'm Tired as well as such, what the fuck? I'm Tired as well is such a good song. It's a really great way to end the season on, similar to All For Us in season 1. I think ending it on I'm Tired was a good way to wrap things up.
Yeah, like it was a much different tone than the first season, but like we got
a little more hopeful, definitely.
Yeah, like it was like that still ended with like Zendaya singing.
Yeah. Yeah, like if that's how they're going to end the seasons, like I'm definitely here for that. I don't think the editing in this episode was very good, though. Like I think there was a lot of points where, you know, we cut from like Fesco and Ashtray, then we get this like whole scene with like Lexi and her play, and then we go back to Fesco and Ashtray, and then we go all the way to like Nate and Cal, and then we go back to Fesco and Ashtray. It just was not very well put together. I think it was very choppily done in that way, and I think if they were able to maybe just let some of these scenes breathe a bit more, I wouldn't be complaining quite as much, because I just felt it to be a bit disjointed in terms of editing for me. And that was definitely a big issue for me in this episode. It hasn't been for a lot of the season, but this episode, that did bring the episode down somewhat for me.
Yeah, there were some parts where it was good, like in the first half, but
oh yeah,
it didn't. Not the best in the second half.
Yeah, it really was just that second half that I don't think it was very well put together. I would say, yeah, after like the Cassie and Maddie scene, like everything, like, I don't think the episode was very well put together in terms of editing after that. But yeah, overall, I do think this was an okay, I do think this was an all right finale. I think there were some really strong moments here, whether it be Ashtray's death, whether it be what we got with, you know, Rue and her sort of making amends with Lexi. Yes, there are a lot of things that are kind of left open, but that's the point. Like, there's another season, you know, they're not just going to wrap up everything. So I don't really have a problem with, say, you know, Lori not being around. I don't really have an issue with that. I think that, you know, I think that overall, when it comes to, you know, Lori, I think we're going to see more of her in season 3. I don't really have an issue with them not doing too much with Jules this season, because she's probably going to have more to do next season. She didn't play a major role because this season she didn't need to play that big of a role. So I don't really have an issue with that. What I do take issue with is some of the other things that did play a pretty big role this season, particularly Maddie and Cassie. I just needed a lot more from. It felt very underplayed. It felt like we didn't really get enough interaction between those two. We've been building it up all season, and all we get is just a quick conversation in the bathroom. It just didn't really hit for me in the way that it needed to. Nate deciding to turn in Cal just felt like a very random direction to me. I needed a lot more build up to that, and it just wasn't really there. Hell, even Elliot as a character, again, I'm just kind of questioning the point of like, why was he here? What was the point of him? Was he just here to complicate things between Rue and Jules? And now, is Rue even going to care if she finds out what happened between Jules and Elliot? Is that going to matter to her? Like, especially because now she's trying to like move on from that. I just don't really know why they decided to go in that direction overall. But still, at the end of the day, I still like this episode. There's a lot of moments that did work for me, and that's what ultimately gives this episode a positive rating. But I will say, I do think it is probably my least favorite episode of Euphoria so far. So I'm going to give this episode a B-.
Towel.
Towel, yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about this season overall, just kind of get your thoughts on it, because for me, I do think this season was still very strong. I think there's a lot of things that worked very well here. But again, I just think that there were a lot of things that would have benefited more from a longer episode length. If we had like 2 more episodes, I think it would have been just a bit more satisfying. I think of like, say, Maddie and the babysitter's mom. I would have wanted to see more of that plot line. Really did not do too much with that at the end of the day. They gave us this like red herring that, oh, there's a camera in the clock, and it turns out, oh, she just gave a dress to her. Like, they didn't really do too much when it came to that storyline. I wanted more from that. I wanted a lot more interactions between, maybe just because I like their interactions so much between Fez and Lexi, maybe just selfishly I wanted more there. But I do think that they could have done a little bit more with that. But really, in retrospect, they didn't need to do a ton more than they did, because obviously Fesco did survive. If he had died, this would have been a much different story. But I think because he survived, I don't have too much of an issue with that overall. But I mean, we talked about before, what they did with Kat is just absolutely disgraceful. Like, there's no excuse whatsoever. I don't see how they redeem this character. I don't see what they're able to do with her moving forward. I think that was definitely a mistake, and I think they definitely should have done a much better job of giving her a lot more to do this season, especially with the way they ended things, never really going back to anything after episode 6. Just overall, I do think this is still a really strong season, acting wise, especially. I mean, every actor knocked it out of the park this season. I think everyone had at least one big standout moment. Zendaya and Sydney Sweeney are obviously the MVPs of this season. I think they're definitely the most consistent, but I think everyone really did kill it. Maude Apatow, Angus Cloud, Nika King, hell, Eric Dane even, I think gave some really great work this season. So overall, at the end of the day, I do think I can still say I really love this season. I love what it did in terms of Rue's recovery. I like how it dived deeper into some of these characters. It was more of an ensemble show this season, and it also leaned a lot heavier into the more sort of weirder aspects of the show, and I think it did for the most part pay off. There's just a few things at the end of the season where I just feel a bit unsatisfied. I wish they would have done more with it, but it doesn't take away from how good this season was for me. So overall, I can still give this season of Euphoria an A-.
Yes.
All right, so before we do wrap things up here, Henry, you know what time it is. It is time to go ahead and do your little outro, plug your stuff, so go right ahead. The brick wall.
And LeBron James is walking.
I don't know what this is.
It's Zendaya's Michi.
Oh.
Yes.
I literally forgot about fucking Smallfoot. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
I
only remembered it because of that meme.
It's actually a pretty good movie. I just forgot she was in it.
Yeah, that you can follow me on Twitter at Henzo Ewing and on Instagram if you want. Maybe I'll post there soon. I don't know. And I'm on Letterboxd at Henry Ewing.
Yes.
And Yeah. We'll see you in 2 years. R.I.P. Ashtray.
Oh yeah, rip Ashtray for sure. Excited to see that actor on Umbrella Academy season 3. I need to catch up on that show, but I'll probably have even more of an incentive now just to see whoever he ends up playing moving forward. But either way, it was very fun to get to have you on for the entire season, hear your thoughts on a show that I know you very much do adore. This was really great, and I'm very excited to see where the rest of the show does go moving forward, even though we're not going to get it for a while. But either way, guys, for our review of the season, what the fuck? That is it for our review of the season finale of Euphoria season 2. Very eventful season for sure. A lot of interesting moments, and was fun to definitely discuss. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Interested to see how it holds up in retrospect.
Yeah, that too. I think that's gonna be like when season 3 comes out. It's gonna be very telling, like how this season, like, you know, what is the afterlife of this, like how does this season hold up after we've seen, you know, season 3. I think that's going to be very telling for sure. But other than that, so for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in our next video, and we will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.
Moving on is a chance to take any time to try to stay together.
That is not the music we're doing for the end. No.